In other news tonight, they are called the engine that drives the American economy. Small businesses provide jobs for more than half of the nation's workforce.
Billions of your tax dollars are set aside to help small businesses survive. Tonight, investigative reporter Stephen Stock digs deeper to reveal the truth behind those numbers.
We discovered hundreds of millions of your tax dollars set aside and meant for small businesses instead going to huge corporations, including dozens of big companies right here in Silicon Valley. It's a huge pot of cash, up to $422 billion worth of federal contracts set aside last year alone, meant to give small businesses a shot at servicing one of the largest clients in the world, the federal government. The government's goal to give at least 23% of all federal contracts to small business. Instead, year after year, we found the government falling short of that goal.
What shocks me is it's still going on.
Lloyd Chapman founded the American Small Business League in 2003, in part because he says big government contracts go to big business rather than to the little guys.
It's not random occurrences when every day for a decade, millions of dollars a day in federal contracts that by law should be going to small businesses are winding up in the hands of not only the largest corporations in America, but in Europe and even Asia.
Donato Polinone has struggled to land federal government contracts.
It's far, far easier to sell into even a General Motors than it is to the federal government.
After founding New Gentech in Emeryville in 1997, Polinone's company now employs 42 workers with earnings of just under $15 million a year. The definition of a small business, according to the Federal Small Business Administration.
It's a topic that only, I'd say about 10% of the other owners of businesses that I know even discuss. Most of the small business owners I know won't even bother trying to sell into the federal government.
After years of trying and failing, New Gentech finally landed several million-dollar contracts with the U.S. government. But to Polinone and his business partner, Fred Pormazai, navigating the federal bureaucracy was like running a gauntlet.
It is frustrating. They're undersourced, understaffed, and they don't have resources to allocate to qualify small businesses like us.
We mined the federal procurement data system, the government's own figures, and found dozens of huge Silicon Valley companies have received contracts marked for small business. Take a $4.8 million Department of Energy contract awarded to a company whose parent is IBM, or a $1 million contract with the IRS going to Oracle, or a $550,000 Forest Service contract to Microsoft. Under SBA size standards, none of those companies qualify as a small business.
You get mad.
Raul Espinoza got so mad over this issue, he founded the Fairness in Procurement Alliance in Jacksonville, Florida.
Government and elected officials are not allowing small businesses to take a fair share of the contracts that they themselves promise for them to have opportunities.
We discovered at least 24 different large companies, either based or with major offices in the Bay Area, from Apple to Oracle, IBM to Microsoft, that received at least 299 different contracts labeled small business for a total of $77 million. And that's just since 2009.
It does seem wrong, but that's the way it is.
The Small Business Administration admits this is a problem. Just last week, it released a scorecard showing that it fell short of its goal of giving 23% of all federal contracts to small businesses. The SBA says the reasons for these mistakes, what they call anomalies, range from data entry and coding mistakes to acquisitions of small companies by big companies, which are then grandfathered in, to growth of a company over the life of a contract, to just plain old human error.
So in reality, small businesses are probably getting, I would say, about a tenth of what they're supposed to get.
Of the dozens of contracts we examined closely, we found no evidence of any company or government agency intentionally breaking these rules. In an emailed statement, the SBA told us, quote, SBA has no tolerance for fraud, waste, and abuse and takes corrective steps when actionable information comes to light. We also reached out to those companies we mentioned in our report. Most refused comment, while 2 said they do everything they can do to make sure they and their smaller subsidiaries don't get these contracts. You can read their full statements online at NBCBayArea.com/investigations.
Okay.